Before Your Eyes is a game that came out a couple years ago, and it is extremely interesting. You don't need a keyboard and mouse or a controller to play this game at all. The way that you actually control this game is by blinking. This was obviously a super cool idea at the time, and it's still a very cool idea today, but it's a little bit weird. You haven't really seen much else like this since then, and I think that maybe I know why based on my experience with the webcam blinking based technology throughout this gameplay, but hey, maybe the story is good enough that it can support you running through a game that will force you to recalibrate your face over and over again throughout it. I don't want to harp on it too much. It might be because I wear glasses or something and the reflection off of the screen was just a little bit too hard for it to detect, but we'll see as we go through this game. I was super excited to play it, and I am super excited to show you as well. Let's do everything in Before Your Eyes. I guess I technically lied when I said you don't need a mouse for this game. You do need to look around a little bit, but the way that you actually interact with the little symbols that you need to get your mouse over is by blinking to continue through the story. Additionally, there are times throughout the game where this little metronome begins moving back and forth at the bottom of the screen. When that is there though, it means that if you blink and the game detects it, you will skip forward in time, possibly missing out on dialogue, but nothing that is super mission critical for the most part. The real game begins by us getting fished out of this cosmic water thing that we were floating in by this dog-looking ferryman guy. He gives a quick explanation that we are currently just a soul floating out in the water that he has pulled up, and we have no body to speak of, so that's why we can't move around. Convenient. I look around a little bit on the boat and determine that, yeah, it seems like we're not going anywhere, so we may as well go ahead and listen to what this guy has to say. He pulled us out of the water specifically for some reason, right? The ferryman informs us that we are slowly floating out towards a big tower where someone called the gatekeeper lives, and he is going to go ahead and represent us in front of the gatekeeper. He is going to tell them the story of our life and why we are deserving to get into their city. He informs us that he is the best storyteller in the biz, so he will obviously have no difficulties getting us in. That is until all of the seagulls that have been traveling with us decide to start chanting the word liar at him. And when he says that they already had their chance, it becomes pretty apparent that these gulls must have been people at one time like us. So as we continue to creep closer and closer to the tower, the ferryman tells us that it's time for us to go back to our very first memory, and we're going to be slowly blinking our way forward to show him our life story. So now that we're back in time and in human form, our first memory seems like a pretty standard one. We're sitting out on the beach with our mother on a very beautiful day. Nice, normal, standard stuff to start with. We proceed to a memory with our father where we're making our first handprint and learn that our name is Benny, apparently. Immediately following that, we begin to try out playing on a little child-sized piano while our mother works on her own piano in the background. Unfortunately though, it seems like our mother's music career isn't quite going to pan out the way that she wanted it to. While we are sitting on the ground working on some painting, we overhear her getting a call about her work not getting published. It was always her dream to be a grand piano composer, but it seems like that might have to come to an end. We also get the option to throw our painting here on a timer. I opt to not, and I kinda didn't see that option even coming, to be honest with you. We flipped through a family photo album and learned that that baby piano that we've been playing was actually our mother's from back in the day, and her father actually taught her how to play the piano, and he was pretty intense about it. We also get a pet cat around this same time. Doesn't seem like a super important detail, but hey, here it is, I guess. We also got another scene where we were looking through another family photo album with our father, and we were just getting to some information about some trips that they took, but unfortunately I accidentally blinked and skipped through this, and it cost me an achievement I'll have to go get later. With the new news that our mother's music career seems to be coming to an end, she entered kind of a little bit of a depressive spiral. But she kind of snapped out of it a little bit when she happened to listen in on us playing the song that she wrote on her piano. It seems like we're some sort of musical genius that was able to learn the song by just hearing it. Man, we are talented. We're so talented, in fact, that we earn the achievement Eyes of Steel here for remaining on one of the metronome screens for a very long time. I thought that I was just doing a great job. It turns out that the webcam actually just unsynced and I needed to recalibrate it, but achievement nonetheless. Whenever we're not working on our musical pursuits, we're actually working on improving another artistic skill in the form of our drawings that seem to be getting quite a bit better. I also noticed that our mother seems to have taken a job as a corporate accountant, so her dream of creating music seems to have died for good here. Things seem to be going really well with all of our artistic pursuits, but we actually get a kind of a weird scene in between our normal happy scenes here where we are slowly walking towards a ringing phone. Unfortunately, we can't reach that phone, but there must be something crazy going on here. But just as quickly as we got into the scary camera view, we exit it and we are back to our piano lessons with our mother, and we continue to improve. After that, we get a short segment of the game where we are taking pictures with a camera, once again controlled by our blinking. But in this section, we meet our new neighbor named Chloe, who just happens to be the same age as us, and, up to this point, we haven't actually made many friends, or any friends other than that cat, really, so this could be good for us, maybe. Our parents throw a dinner party where we get to show off our piano skills, and we are sounding very, very good at this point. We might have a shot at this whole music career thing. We are clearly getting quite a bit older now at this point, as we find that we are in a world history class, and we just happen to be sitting right next to our neighbor Chloe, who passes us a note telling us that we are not to be friends while we're at school. That's kinda mean. Especially considering she gets asked a question in class, and I choose the optional prompt to help her. Unfortunately, I blinked right after that, and we missed out on the rest of that scene. Oops. Our next Chloe scene involves her coming over to our house to sit and play our new video game console while we sit and draw. We're not really talking per se, but the company is nice enough, I guess, even though it kinda seems like she's using us for our sick Pokemon ripoff game. While our social scene seems to be advancing a little bit, things might actually be changing as we see that our mother has taken us to some fancy music school to possibly transfer over and give us a better shot at a great music career. This seems a little complicated though, are we really up for it? While we work on practicing our super advanced piano piece, we get a call from Chloe, a couple calls actually, and the game gives us the option of picking these up, but I chose to ignore them to focus on our piano work. Chloe will always be there, but this piano thing we've only got one shot at. The night before our big audition comes, and we also get a call from Chloe at this point, asking us to sneak out, or we can go to sleep in order to get better sleep for our big audition. I earned the achievement Virtuoso for choosing to go to sleep here, and, I wasn't gonna let Chloe get in the way of me getting this big opportunity in our life, right? So now with a full night's sleep under our belt, we start our big audition, and things actually go pretty well. We've got a wide range that we can keep between while we're playing the piano that we wouldn't have got if we had snuck out and not got our full night of sleep. So it seems like we performed pretty well all in all. To celebrate how well our performance went, we go out with our parents to sit on the beach and look at some stars. Here we get to trace out some constellations that spell out the words "Stay Here." We earn the achievement Stargazer for this, but what does "Stay Here" mean? Unfortunately, the answer comes pretty quick. We probably should have stayed in that time because we actually got rejected from the art school, and maybe things would have been better if we hung out back there. Things continue to get and stay bad, I guess, as the next scene is in a doctor's office, and the doctor is saying that he wants us to stay home from school while whatever we're dealing with clears up. This was another scene where I wanted to hear more, but unfortunately I blunk. Whatever it is that's keeping us out of school seems to be a little bit more serious than initially thought though, as it turns out we actually have to stay home for an entire year. And in that time, because we can't really do anything else, we decide to pick up an old hobby that we used to do quite a bit, in the form of working on improving our different drawings and artistic pursuits, specifically in the painting. And things are going very well, we're even starting to win awards and stuff. Maybe this is our art form after all. Pretty quickly after that, we have a giant time jump where we seem to be in a university setting taking another art class. This is also where I earned the achievement Where's My Face for recalibrating the facial sensor 10 times. I played this entire game in one sitting, and that's right, we're not even halfway done with the game yet, and I've already recalibrated 10 times. I was like ripping my hair out at this point. I really wanted to finish it with it, but time continues jumping forward, as that's the game and, the whole thing, I guess. But we find ourselves in a situation where we're signing a contract to be an artist. something that we've wanted for so long, and we finally achieved it, even though it's a different medium than we originally thought we would be in. However, just as it seems like everything is going super well in our life, we're being really respected for our art and growing as an artist, we get a phone call from our mother saying that she has gotten quite sick. And one of the next scenes after that is her funeral. So things have clearly gone from bad to worse here. This whole situation is obviously tremendously sad, but there actually does end up being some good that comes out of this. While we're cleaning up some of the boxes in the old house, we find our mother's notebook where she worked on her piano pieces so long ago. And when we start looking through all of her old things that she worked on artistically, we start to get some inspiration for some new pieces that we can create based on the things that she loved and she created in her lifetime. This leads to us walking through an art gallery that is dedicated to all of our great works, and additionally we learn that our mother's work has become extremely respected for the genius that it was since we have raised it from its mediocrity. Also at this art show we happen to bump into our old friend Chloe, who we haven't seen in many years. And with that, we return to the ferryman, and he is celebrating his great success in choosing an obviously extremely worthy candidate to pull out of the water. But before we get to the Guardian, we need to go through a couple details and maybe polish up our story a little bit. The ferryman takes us through a series of questions, asking us if our childhood was a happy or lonely one. I opt to go for lonely. He asks us for some more insight on how we see our mother. Was she a composer or an accountant? I chose composer. He asks if our mother was more encouraging or demanding in the way that she taught us how to play piano, and I chose encouraging. She just wanted us to fulfill the dream that she always had and she couldn't fulfill. Maybe she was a little bit brisk, but you know. His final question was a little bit of a stumper. He asked if Chloe was our best friend or our first love. This one was a little bit tough for me to decide on. I went with best friend, but I kinda didn't feel like Chloe really fit either of these. She was the only character our age that we met in the game, but I kinda felt like she was just neutral to us, not really a best friend or a love. The ferryman continues to tell our story to the distant Guardian. We were 12 years old and got sick and had to stay inside for an entire year, so we got our confirmation right here. But in that time, we'd mastered our painting skills. Our story seems to be going well. It is pretty impressive after all. That is until all of the birds on the boat start to chirp out liar once again. And we get informed that these are not regular seagulls, they are actually something called lyrebirds. People that tried to lie to the Guardian get turned into this, and it seems like maybe we've been lying this whole time too. So the ferryman is in the same position that we, the player, are in. He knows that we are lying, but we don't know what we've been lying about, so we're gonna need to go ahead and start over from the beginning, but we can go ahead and skip through some of the boring stuff that he doesn't need to see a second time. It turns out that the first relevant scene that we need to look at is the one that was pretty creepy with the telephone in it. And as we hold our vision open, we see our mother approach this phone and learn that her father has recently passed away from this phone call. This is pretty tragic for her because she still wanted to impress him, and now she'll never have the chance to do that. Maybe this is a bad point of the game to cut in at, but this is also the same part of the game that I decided to stop using the webcam eye detection for. I was just getting sick of needing to reset it basically after every scene, so I switched to clicking instead. We continue along the same path until we get to the point where we are staying inside for a year, but this time instead of taking to our other artistic pursuit of drawing, we decide to take up an old typewriter and start working on writing out some different stories. This is good. I don't know why we lied about this part of it. Once again though, our answer comes pretty quick. This game hates to keep you waiting. We go ahead and work with the worst typing mechanic of all time to work on typing out our life story. This life story very quickly takes a wrong turn though, as Benny describes himself as the worst member of his family to ever live, and he didn't even try to fight the disease inside of him, he just laid down and died. And once again, we very quickly start to see what he means as we see a giant red tentacle monster start to take over our view inside of our room. The scene around us transforms from bedroom to hospital gurney as we seem to be getting rushed into the emergency room as this red tentacle monster continues to absorb us. It kind of felt like that might have been an end to the game in another reality, but it turns out that we actually return back home, and the red light is still there, but we've pushed it away for a little bit. We get a phone call from Chloe telling us that we're obviously faking and we should just come back to school. The game gives us an option to throw our cell phone across the room, and when we choose not to, we earn the next achievement, Even Keeled, for not giving into anger throughout the game. We get a nice scene with our father where he tells us that back in the day when our mother was feeling so down from losing out on her music career, we really cheered her up when we went out and started playing her music on the piano, and he's kind of hoping that maybe we can cheer her up out of her current funk like that again. Our mom has really been going through it after our diagnosis, and she hasn't been doing super well, but us going out to play some of the songs on the piano like back in the old days brings her out, and she seems much happier, at least for the moment. After another little time jump, we find that Chloe is coming to visit us in our bedroom. She seems to have realized that we haven't been faking it, and that's not entirely on her. We didn't really tell her that we were sick because we didn't want to worry her. But she delivers us a nice note saying that we are in fact her best friend, so that is super cute. Wonder what would have happened if I picked First Love. But unfortunately, that is the last super nice note that this game is going to end on, as the red virus takes over our screen and we get a very sluggish control over the game, and we can no longer interact with everything, as the ferryman begins to speak to us in our head and tells us it's okay to come back to him. We return to the ferryman just as we arrive at the Guardian that will decide our fate. The Guardian just so happens to look like a one-eyed cat, just like the one that we had back at home. The ferryman describes our life story as it really happened. We were a child who never got to see the reality of adulthood, and the cat is ready to hear our tale. But then something interesting happens. Instead of listening to the ferryman preaching to the cat guardian, we actually cut back to the real world where we listen to a story that our mother wrote about our life story that we wrote originally. Confusing, right? Our mother talks about how we got sick for a year, and that really sucked. So we decided to write a story about our life that we wanted to live. But that was pretty different from the life that we had actually had, and we had done some pretty great things throughout the life that we have lived in real life. We met our neighbor Chloe, who felt so alone after moving, and we welcomed her in with open arms, though we missed out on a lot of that story. And we had great parents that didn't need us to be some super successful artist to love us. All of the things that make us combined lead to a pretty good life. With our life story now recounted before the Guardian, we cut back to the ferryman, who tells us that the Guardian has accepted us in, and as we close our eyes, we will enter the Guardian's domain. This is the end of the game, and also where we earn the achievement Before Your Eyes for completing the game. But now we have a couple things that we need to go back and clean up, so we can go ahead and hop back in through the chapter select. The first thing that we need to do is return to that photo album that we were looking at with our father, and not blink past it this time. Before us, we have two images of vacations our parents took to Greece and to Egypt, and we need to pick one of them. We earn the first achievement for going back and picking Greece, and the second achievement, Egyptologist, for going back and picking the Egypt image. Once again, I really could have got one of these the first time through pretty easily if I wouldn't have blinked, but you know, that's the game, it was easy enough to get anyway. Achievement number 9 is called Punctilicious, and once again, we could have got this one very easily if I didn't blink the first time through the game. We just need to go back and take all of the notes successfully in the classroom scene. Achievement number 10 is called Redo, and it's for returning to the choice between sneaking out or sleeping before our big recital, and we choose to sneak out this time. In the sneak out reality, we go hang out with Chloe on the beach and talk about life for a little while. This definitely would have made Chloe grow on me quite a bit, and missing out on this did kind of make her storyline feel flat the first time through. And the final achievement of this game is called Obnoxious, and it actually involves us going back to the very start of the game where the ferryman tells us to blink to start going back through our life story, and if you wait long enough without doing that, eventually the achievement will pop. It's very funny how he keeps rotating here too for some reason. But with all of that being said, we have now officially done everything in Before Your Eyes. So how did we do? Like I said, this is a pretty short game. I actually played through all of it in just one session in a total of 2.3 hours. So definitely very quick to get through if you're looking for a nice, quick, easy completion, though obviously you can't do everything in one playthrough, you'll have to go back through chapter select. This game was super cool. The story was, I wish it was a little bit longer. It was hard to get invested in all of the different story things, and I didn't even touch all of the different story beats in this video review. Just some of it just didn't really click for me, and if the game was a couple hours longer, maybe it would have hit a bit harder. Though also, that being said, if this game was a couple hours longer and I tried to do all of this with a webcam, I would have probably ripped my hair out and maybe even given up on this game. The webcam blink detection stuff is super cool, but there's a reason that we haven't seen anything like this since, really, and it seems like the technology just doesn't work super well. Like I said, maybe it's a wearing glasses thing, and maybe for other people this game worked perfectly well, but after, the halfway point of the game, I decided to go ahead and switch the webcam detection off, and that's probably a bad sign when that's the main selling point of the game. But please feel free to let me know what you think down in the comments below, or if you want to leave any other suggestions for games you'd like to see me check out down there as well. As always, thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one as well. See ya!